introduction. I am Mike Martin. I'm with a company called IndeeLift. We make a unique product, a fall recovery and a mobility aid solution. You may ask what in the heck is that is. And as Joe alluded to, we are a solution for a very common problem for not only people that are prone to falling because of age, because of neuro or muscular diseases. Pick a reason. It's a very common problem across the globe that people end up on the ground. And as Joe mentioned, we are a recent sponsor and partner with the Parkinson's Resource Organization. It's near and dear to our heart. We work with organically, a lot of your constituents and other constituents find us on Google or just references, and we're glad to get the business and to help them. But when we can partner with a strong organization like that with lots of constituents, the word can get out much quicker and we can help much more people faster. So before I get into the product, the common problem is that, like I mentioned earlier, is for a variety of reasons, people end up on the ground. And then most of the time, and according to OSHA and most people aren't hurt when they're on the ground. They just can't get up. They crawl to a couch, a chair, they're called a neighbor, a caregiver. It's a crazy situation. And in some horrible cases, they're on the ground for hours before they can get up. And that is not a good situation, obviously. I just looked up a quick stat on the internet. This came from a Canadian study, and basically 68% of people with Parkinson's disease fall at least once per year. And that was kind of an eye-opener for me. I didn't think it was that high a number. But sometimes the thing that's really hard is when people fall multiple times. And so when you're on the ground, what is the situation? Of course, it's common. Like I mentioned, you call your neighbors and friends. 911 is a very common scenario. My son's a fireman. He can tell you, you go to the same house many times and you're picking up the same person many times, and so forth. And even though you may be a not heavy person, usually people are kind of dead weight on the ground. They're just very heavy to pick up. And then that presents a real problem for caregivers and spouses and such. They have, the ability to hurt their backs and hurt the patient by grabbing them. And even with my son being a young firefighter, it's really hard in the middle of the night on a run to go pick somebody up. Somebody goes on a workers' compensation claim, which is very expensive. So it's not, I'm sure this is not uncommon knowledge to what I'm saying, but this is the kind of the problem that we're solving. So in IndeeLift, our mission really is to help people live independently, lift them back up off the ground safely, and in the theme of today's call, provide peace of mind and not worry about falling and what's going to happen. And by having the solution, really, these are the kind of things we want to provide independence. We want to provide a solution for those individuals that they don't have to worry about what happens when they fall. So this is my device. Let me go back. It's called the IndeeLift. And I'm going to run the short little video here to just show you what it does. Hopefully it's running here. It's not really running. It looks the size of a small vacuum. And unfortunately, my video is not moving here. I don't know why. But
is that a video or?
It looks like it's loading, and if you give it a second, it'll probably work.
Oh, okay. We'll give it a second here. That's the challenge of doing a video on Zoom sometimes. This is a very portable device. It runs on a battery. The platform simply raises an individual up to a seated or a standing height. We have safety belts. It runs on a remote, and it can be brought to wherever an individual has fallen.
And did you already talk about the weight of it?
The weight, this will lift up anywhere from 300 to 400 pounds. So it can handle, in fact, we have a unit that goes up to 600 pounds as well. Unfortunately, the video, let's go to the next screen here.
And how much does the machine itself weigh, Michael?
This individual weighs anywhere from 50 to 70 pounds. It's made out of steel. And it rolls around. And this is actually shows you how the unit, hopefully you can see the video running now. It can be used by caregivers, and it can have self-operated. So in the case, if you have a caregiver, you simply just roll the device. Unfortunately, I have it on auto progression here. It can be rolled over to wherever the individuals fall. As you can see here, the individual just simply scoots onto the platform. Caregiver hits the up button, gets them up to a height where you can get on your own. In the case where an individual may be living by themselves, most people have the ability to crawl or scoot to the unit themselves, and they simply can raise themselves up, and you're on your way. And this is only a matter of a couple minutes, and you're on your way. So I'll stop it right there. So it really covers a broad spectrum. We work with a lot of organizations such as the MS community, the myositis, and sometimes people just have MS when they live alone at very young. They've been falling all their life, and they just are used to crawling to a piece of furniture and getting up. This has really been a life changer because they can simply get themselves up without having to exert undue stress on their shoulders and so forth. And so,
and you know what we know, Michael, is that if a person with Parkinson's can just get to that standing position, they can start ambulating generally by themselves. So getting them to that position is what becomes important or critical here. And this obviously gets them to the standing position, or it can get them to standing where they can probably move. And I haven't seen the rest of the video, but it could get them, if they were in a wheelchair, they could at least be stood up to the point where they could then transfer over to the wheelchair, huh?
That's correct. I'll show you the picture of our units now. So if you don't have the ability to stand back up, these arms that are, we call them rise assist arms, you simply can remove those, or they can be swung out of the way. So you can do a lateral transfer over to a wheelchair, to a chair, to a couch. And this is kind of the beauty of the solution as well, because we have people that are paraplegic that suddenly their world opens up a little bit more, where they can get themselves from the couch to the wheelchair, the couch onto the ground, so they can do some floor exercises and back up. It takes all the burden out of all the manual lifts. And so the beauty of this device here, again, is really to help those individuals not worry about falling. There's a solution right there. They can be brought up to a seated or standing position in a matter of a couple minutes. And we always say it takes that frantic event into a non-event. You really can get back onto your way and not worry about falling. And this business, IndeeLift, started really with our owners. My boss, Steve, invented the IndeeLift because his mother and father fell all the time. He had to go over and pick them up or call 911. And so, the mother of invention, right, is to create or the necessity is a mother of invention, is what I meant to say. And so Steve invented this device simply to pick up the elderly. And then over the last couple of years, a lot of individuals with neuro or muscular diseases found us organically. And so here we are helping hundreds or thousands of people today live a more independent
What's
life.
really exciting for me, Michael, is number one, we talked about the weight of it. And I think you said it was like 50 pounds, maybe, the weight.
Yes, it's made out of steel. It's very solid. It's made out of steel. It runs on a lithium-ion battery, like I mentioned, and we have safety belts. You can see it in this picture right here. We have 2 belts, because even if you don't have the core or trunk strength to hold on, you can put a safety belt around your chest and your your waist as well, and you'll be secured and not worry about slipping off. So it handles that. And so we have a variety of models. The one I highlighted right here is the most common, is called our FTS 400. It handles 400 pounds and it goes to a full standing height. So even if I tell individuals, even if you don't need to go that high, I always say look into the future, because within a year or two, you may need that extra height as well to be lifted.
So is the one that's on the right, the blue one, that certainly shows that the arms are gone from that.
Oh yes, so that is our full range. That is our EMS units. Lifting isn't confined to just the home. So we have units for the home, for assisted care facilities, professional health care, and EMS. So the blue one actually goes on fire rigs. So fire departments have the same issue. They don't want to have firemen hurt lifting, so they'll actually use these to pick up their patients. So we cover everything. Hospitals really, in assisted living, the same problem. Their protocol may be to call 911 or to get a lot of lift teams, which is usually multiple people, to help somebody back up. And so what it does, again, it removes the risk of injury to their staff, and also gets the patient back up quickly.
Yeah, I would love to see that video again if we can get it moving, just to see someone helping another person get up from that one. Yeah.
Yep. So you can see it was just wheeled right behind, and the person simply just scoots onto the platform. Caregiver hits the up button, raises them up. Obviously, this is accelerated. Until it gets to a standing height is about 1 minute.
Okay, so if they can't scoot, can the caregiver kind of scooch the machine underneath them?
Yes, absolutely. We have a process where we can get somebody onto it. They lay on their side, and then we actually have a technique to get them to a seated onto the platform. And so it's minimal movement to get on and up.
Do you have videos of that by any chance?
I don't for this one, Joe. I'm sorry, but I have. You can definitely go to IndeeLift.com, and we have a lot of videos loaded there, a lot of examples of how we use it and our applications. And so
terrific. What I really am jazzed about is you don't have to put the machine together. It's already together. You just have to get it to the fallen party. And as I said, sometimes when someone falls, scooting is pretty difficult for them to do. So understanding that we can get the lift underneath their body somehow becomes a critical issue.
You get it as close as you can. Yes, obviously. If they can't even scoot, the bevel or the seat is beveled on the front, so you can actually, it helps get it on. And it only is about 1 inch.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I would, these are kind of the common questions I put on here, Joe, that we get. I can go through, have about 5 more minutes, I think.
And let's ask anybody that's sitting in the audience tonight if they have a question so far. Does anybody want to raise their hand and see if we have a question coming up? Linda or Barbara or Bobby? Anybody want to ask a question at this point? I'm the only one asking. Okay, so then we're going to let, so Michael, yes, carry on with the questions you have.
Yeah, these are the most common questions. You already asked the weight one, Joe. We will pick up anywhere for up to, the most common is up 300 to 400 pounds in the home. Those are our home models. Another common question is, what if I am alone? We always recommend putting a unit in a common area. And if you do have the ability to crawl or scoot yourself, you can definitely get into the, move yourself to the unit. And as the video showed, you can get yourself back up.
I love the question. I love the question. Is it covered by Medicare? That's number one. Another one that I really like. And when you get through answering that, I've got a second question behind that.
Yes, so patient lifts are covered by Medicare Part B. And so we have links on our website as well to bring you through the different Medicare sites you would need. Obviously, you have to be eligible and go through the steps in order to be covered with the Medicare program. but it is, patient lifts are covered by Medicare Part B, like I mentioned.
That is so terrific, because any of the other lifts that we've heard about over the years have never had their Medicare, whatever that is, that where they qualify for Medicare. But my second one is that, and it's amazing to me, and what makes me really excited about this piece of machinery is the cost of it. You want
Correct. Yes. So the home unit that rises to a seated height, which is about 21 inches, is $17.95. And the unit that goes up to a full standing height is $19.95. And those are the 300-pound capacity. If you wanted the unit that goes to 400 capacity, it's $22.95 and $25.95. So it just depends on what you want. By and large, our 300-pound is usually more than enough. And so, yes, very aggressive pricing. We actually just lowered them this year. So it definitely is affordable to a lot more individuals.
Oh, yes. So how much does Medicare cover? Do you know?
I don't know, Joe, on that. I
Okay.
have to, yeah, those are, we always have our patients or individuals go to Medicare and follow the process. And
Yeah.
private insurance is another one. We get questions on it as well. We've had, especially with neuromuscular diseases, we've had some private insurance is covered as well. So it's just a wide range. It's just, our view is this is another life tool, no different than any other mobility aid that they need in their life. In fact, we have a very close association with the Veteran Affairs Association in the U.S. So if you are a veteran and you are part of the VA system, I would recommend you go to your local VA. They prescribe and pay for IndeeLifts all the time for disabled veterans. And so they recognize this is a valuable tool for their disabled veterans to remain at home longer and to live a more independent life. So, yeah.
So if our audience tonight wanted to, how would they go about getting an IndeeLift? Do they go to their doctor and ask for a prescription? Do they call IndeeLift and somebody walks them through? Do they go to a mobility store and start there? How does somebody get an IndeeLift?
You can definitely go to IndeeLift.com and procure directly. You can go, we work with a few, we have a lot of dealers. People like a MedMart, Live Oak, and those dealers are listed on our website. Unfortunately, we don't have units all over the U.S., so you can go physically touch one. But we have a lot of videos loaded already on our website, so you can see the unit in action. So that's probably the best too. If you have to go the Medicare route, yes, you definitely have to go to see your Medicare doctor. You have to see your doctor as well if you want to have prescriptions written for potential, insurance, things like that. So that's probably the route you would want to go. And in the VA, of course, like I mentioned, you would have to go to your local Veterans Affairs hospital or clinic. So,
I didn't look at your page before we came on tonight, and I wouldn't have known to look for this particular the question I'm going to ask. But on the Wellness Village page, it would be very nice if there was a download of a document that someone could take to their doctor's office to show them what they're asking for, and perhaps have the Medicare code on it as well. And those two things I think would be really helpful.
great suggestion. I'll work on that. And yes, because it's very common to doctors or your local hospital may not have ever heard of an IndeeLift nor the solution. And so actually we've created something very similar for the veteran community that describe to their doctor what the unit is.
Got it.
Helps jumpstart the process.
Terrific. And then the next thing is if they go directly to IndeeLift, you ship it out to them?
Yes, we ship directly within 3 to 4 days. It comes via UPS usually. It's so I must tell your audience that it's a heavy unit shipped. I mean, 70 pounds. So you definitely need somebody help to bring the unit in if you need it and to take it out of the box. The only assembly that's required is to put 2 wheels on, and that's it, and
Wow.
charge the battery.
And do you charge for shipping?
Yes, shipping is approximately 100 to 150 to 250. It's a heavy box.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I just wanted to show you real briefly on this page here. We have independent testimonials. And the reason I put the one on the top, the inclusion body myositis, this was a home video made by Kevin Dooley, the individual in the blue shirt. This is his living room, as a matter of fact. He has difficulty, he falls. And so he brought our unit to his home and he did a home review and evaluation. It's beautiful. It's on our website. I would recommend you watch it. This has expanded his life. He's integrated it into all facets. And he had the same fear as many do, is when you fall a lot, you suddenly don't want to move. Your world becomes smaller, and this has just expanded everything. In the middle, we had a woman in the orange shirt. She's a PT. She did an evaluation from a very independent, her view. And then a written review of the IndeeLift. This is by an individual who lives with a younger man who has MS. And he uses it you see him getting from his IndeeLift to his recumbent bike, and back up. And so it just helps the mobility. And most of the time you have to rely on somebody else to help you from point A to point B. So anyway, those are simple. We have these videos on our website. I saw a hand raised, Barbara.
Yeah, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
You're muted, Barbara.
Unmute. Barbara, can you unmute, please? Can we send her a signal? Yeah.
Okay, okay, now.
There you go.
There you go, Barbara.
I have about 30 or 40 questions, but I'm going to stick with a couple of simple ones. How does this basically differ from a Hoyer lift?
So Hoyer is a sling lift, and usually it's a much longer process to get somebody into the sling, and it's really not I wouldn't consider a Hoyer lift a fall recovery device. It's just a lot more. It's usually meant for people too that are maybe not as mobile, in a professional care. It's just really meant to get somebody from a wheelchair, lift them totally up, and then put them into a bed, for example.
Right.
So it's not really a true fall recovery, and so this device versus a sling could be very disconcerting or unsettling for somebody to be in there and suspended and moved versus being able to be set on an IndeeLift and just simply raised. So
my next question is basically, if you have someone who has falling issues, do you recommend that they stay seated for a few minutes before they try to get up and move?
Absolutely. So you always assess. So if you're the caregiver, you're always assessing the patient. You don't assume maybe they're going to stand up and walk away. And this is the beauty of an IndeeLift as well. If they're not able to walk, then you just simply bring a wheelchair or a seat right next to the IndeeLift. You remove the rise assist bar next to it, and you just move them onto the chair laterally or the wheelchair. And so that's one way. So yes, Barbara.
And then in that case, you would recommend also using the belts to keep them stable for a longer period of time before they get up and start.
Everybody's different. Barbara. So getting the belts, using them. If there's any doubt, put a belt on. And then with the IndeeLift remote, you can stop raising at any given time and keep assessing, so you don't want to rush any of the scenario. The seat raise is very slow. like I mentioned, from the floor to a full standing height is about, a minute and 15 seconds approximately. So you got plenty of time to assess whether or not you're able to stand or not.
Okay. Thank you. I could have used this a dozen times in the past.
Yeah, I'll bet you could. And Barbara that's next to you also, I think, is looking at this with her eyes wide open, aren't you, Barbara Hill? Yeah, you're muted though. There you
Yes,
go.
I am. But I don't know how it would work if it was in a different room than me.
Well, if you're by yourself, Barbara, do you have the ability to crawl or scoot yourself from room to room?
I might. I don't know. I've never tried it.
Because that's one option. The other option, if you can get to a phone, or if somebody can come over to help pick you up, they can simply wheel it over then to lift you up, as opposed to calling 911 and things like that. So it just speeds up. You can get back on your feet much quicker. Again, it all depends. In those scenarios, we always say leave it in your living room or your bedroom where the most common fall may happen. It just depends on the individual cases.
So that brings up another question. How do we assess whether someone is really a candidate for this piece of machinery?
A candidate is somebody who has fallen and they've gone through the exact same scenario, Joe, as I've mentioned, is they've fallen, they're not injured, they just can't get back up.
Yeah.
And
So
usually it's the caregiver or family members that are the most common persons too, that'll say, they've had to go over a family member's or a neighbor's house multiple times. They're the ones that may prompt, getting the unit as well.
Yeah. All right. I love the questions. I'm sure that after tonight we'll have more of them. So I ask all of you who are in the audience tonight that if you have questions relating to this, please send us an email so that we can ask, so that we can get more input or insight for the next round, or answer some of the questions in the newsletter type thing.
My contact information, Joe, here's the 800 number too. We're always available to answer questions, whatever they may be.
Okay.
Visit our website too. We have a very good website and videos that describes applications.
You really do. You guys have done a really bang up job on working on the presentation of this, and I'm so pleased with you. You're getting some rounds of applause.
Wow, thank you very much.
There you go. If you can stay with us, Michael, that would be lovely, because by the end of the night, you could probably be very relaxed as well.
I'll be on.
Okay, with Roger Moore there. I am so jazzed to have IndeeLift as a part of the repertoire of products that we can put in front of our constituents, something that in truth can bring about quality of life. So thank you. And I look forward to a wonderful relationship with you guys.
It's my pleasure. We're honored to partner with you, Joe.
Thank you so much. Okay.